Thank you that you still decided to come to church in spite of the bad weather. Isn't it a proof that you trust in God? You may have noticed that the title is In God We Trust. It's a question. Do you know that In God We Trust is the national motto of the United States? And you can see it in their money and in their constitution. But nowadays, even among us, can we say that in God do we trust? You see, 2 months ago, one of the visitors approached me. He asked me a question while we were having lunch. He asked me, why did you choose the topic that we preached during Divine Worship? It was a topic about prophecy. And he told me he was actually excited to hear about it. He was studying about the topic for quite some time, and he was happy to hear it in the church. But today, we're going to talk about the financial aspect of stewardship. I know that not everyone is excited to hear about this topic, and some of us may even be uncomfortable hearing about this topic. But nevertheless, I have 3 good reasons why I chose this topic. The first reason is stewardship is an important aspect of our worshiping God. It is faith translated into action. And this is something that we can see in our real life. Second reason is that some of you have asked questions about tithes and offerings. You wanted to know what is the proper way to give our tithes and offering. You also want to know how the church uses our tithes and offering. And the third reason is that I am in the treasury department. And we felt that it is our responsibility to promote stewardship and to encourage everyone to be excited in partnering in the work of God in saving souls. So I think those 3 reasons are good enough to warrant discussing about stewardship. But before we continue, shall we have a word of prayer? Dear God, you are our creator and you are our sustainer. We don't want to talk about this topic without your Holy Spirit guiding us. Please be with us, open our hearts, open our minds, so that we can be faithful servants of yours. In Christ's name we pray. How much money would it take for you to feel secure completely financially? Do you think 100,000 yen will do it? No? How about 1 million yen? No? How about 10 million?
No.
Higher? How about 1 billion yen?
No.
How about 50 billion yen? No? Well, let's say you have this massive amount of money. Would you really feel secure? How about thieves and robbers? They can come and steal your wealth. How about market crash or global depression? Do you remember 2008, 2009? Lehman Shock? I was watching as big companies with big capital, like capitals like $100 billion, one day, and then after a week, the capital becomes 50 billion, and then after another week, becomes 20 billion, until it becomes worthless. So you cannot be sure. How about war? I mean, is it possible that when there is war, that all your wealth is taken away from you, or it becomes useless? Right? But, I mean, most of us are probably having this huge amount of money. Some of us probably are living from paycheck to paycheck. Are we saving for our retirement? How can we save for our retirement if even we cannot pay for our monthly bills now? Right? Are we buying insurance? Insurance for our house, for our cars, health insurance, life insurance? Maybe we can, maybe we cannot. But how about in a country like Japan? Japan has some social security program. Are you paying for your pension plan? I've been paying for my pension plan for more than 20 years already. But to be honest, I'm not sure if I retired, if Japan will still have money when I need it. So probably instead of calling it Social Security, we call it Insecurity Plan, right? But is there any other way we can be secured financially? I mean, if you have your gadgets, when you look at your social media, internet, even in the television, you can find ads like this. How to get rich quick, right? It teaches us like how you can make huge sums of amounts of money in a short amount of time. The only thing that you need to do is to send them some of your money. And they promise that after several weeks you can retire, you can go to a tropical beach somewhere. You can lie down under the swaying palm tree. But you know, if anyone would go to a tropical beach, it will not be you. It will be the person that where you send your money to. Right? Now, life is extremely unpredictable. You don't know what will happen between today and tomorrow, between this week and next week. Maybe you're thinking you just bought a house, a big house, and then you're just planning to spend your life paying for the mortgage. But then suddenly fire comes and it burns your house. But maybe you feel secure, but one night when you come home, you found out that robbers have broken into your house and took everything that is of value. Is it possible that in one instant that everything you have will be gone? Yes. For example, you can be a company manager working probably 40 to 80 hours a week. And then you get a call, and then you've been told you're fired. You spent your whole life for the company, and then the company, your friends, just reject you. Friends, what you and I need is not some program that says Social Security. We need real security that we can count on. And this cannot be given to us by any personal fortune, or government, or company insurance, or wealth management effort. It cannot do it. Only God can give it. Amen. So this morning, I want to share with you God's plan for our security. His way of taking care of our financial and material needs. And His plan works even though you only have little. And it only works as well even if you have much. And even of all the things, in all the things that you trusted, people, companies that give you securities, even after they are gone, God's plan would still work. Because that's what He told so. So what is God's solution to our financial problems? What specific financial principle does the Bible give us? Let us go back to the time that God created the world. In Genesis 2:8, it says, the Lord God planted a garden, the Garden of Eden. And there He put the man whom He created. It was God who created the earth, and God provided us clean air to breathe. And then He also provided us different kinds of food. And the Bible says that by the word of the Lord the heavens were made, and all the hosts of them by the breath of his mouth. And in verse 9 it says that, for he spoke, and it was done. He commanded, and it stood fast. So, what God says is what it is so, because when he says it, it becomes so. In Psalms 24, it says that the earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof, the world, and they that dwell therein. So God created Adam and Eve. He put them in the garden, and they can eat of any fruit of the tree except for one. God said that do not eat from this tree. And the tree is a symbol of God's sovereignty and authority. He told them, if you eat of this tree, you will die. But the deceiver told Eve otherwise. He said, you will not die. If you eat, you will become like God. You will become like him. So Eve's sin is deciding that she will be her own God. That she would do her own opinion about God's authority. So she accepted the devil's lie and did what she wanted apart from God's authority. So what is Satan's great deception? Satan's great deception is self-centeredness. This is putting our own opinion about God's authority. In Acts 17 it says, God who made the world and everything in it, it is him who gives all life, breath, and all things. So in here, we know that God not only created us, but he also sustains us. So the Bible provides us the antidote for self-centeredness. And this is a sure cure for selfishness. And we will call it the 7 financial principles of God's economics. Can I ask you one question? Did you decide to be born in this world? No. No, you are here because of God's mercy. You were woven in God's mind before you were woven in the womb of your mother. So, our first financial principle is this. Since God created me and sustains my life, everything I have is really his. Amen. But you may say, well, what about my hard-earned money? Those things that I work so hard. Well, Deuteronomy is also telling us, and you shall remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you power to get wealth. God gives us the opportunity to work. So he supplies our needs. And you can see that the Bible heroes of God understands this. And they say it in a very interesting way. You see in Haggai, it says, the silver is mine, and the gold is mine, says the Lord of hosts. You remember Abraham, right? Abraham understood that he was created by God, and that God is the one sustaining him. He also understood that the victory of his armies are a gift from God. So when he attacked the enemy armies, and then they overthrown them, Abraham returned a portion of the spoil. And to whom did he return it? He returned it to Melchizedek, which is the high priest of God. And you can see it in Genesis chapter 14. It says, blessed be Abraham of God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hands. And he gave him a tithe of all. So what does the word tithe mean? Tithe is actually an old English word. It means a tenth or 10%. So it is an acknowledgement that God is the creator and the sustainer of everything. Abraham understood that 100% of what he has is from God. And by returning tithe to God, he acknowledged God's goodness, God's blessings, and he acknowledged that God is the owner of all. Let's talk about Jacob. What do we understand about Jacob? Jacob, he tricked his father. He deceived his brother so that he will sow his birthright to him. But in doing so, he had to run away. He had to run for his life away from his angry brother. So in his condition, when he was alone and penniless, God gave him a promise. And the promise is like this: I will give you all you need, and I will bless you. And in return, what did Jacob say? Jacob said, surely of all the things that you give me, I will give a tenth of it to you. So patriarchs knew that they should acknowledge God as our creator and sustainer of life by returning God a tenth of what he gave them. So you might ask, what is a tithe? Leviticus 27 is telling us that of all the tithes of the land, whether the seeds of the land or of the fruit of the tree, it is the Lord's. It is holy to the Lord. So everything I own is God's. And so that I won't forget about it, God is asking me to return a tithe to Him. And this is to acknowledge that He is owner of all. So our financial principle number 2 is, tithing acknowledges our deep belief that God is our creator and the sustainer of our life. You know, God asked in Malachi chapter 3, verse 8, will a man rob God? Is this talking about somebody putting his hand on the offering bag and taking something? No. God was asking, will a man rob God? And then he continues, and yet you rob me. And then the Israelites answered, in what way do we rob you? And God says, in tithes and offerings. Have you noticed that God made a distinction between tithes and offerings? So what is the difference between tithe and offering? So the tithe, according to the Bible, is holy unto the Lord. It is a tenth, or 10%, or in Japanese is ichiwari. So God specified the amount. And with the tithing, we acknowledge God's ownership and authority over us. So tithing is a test of obedience and faithfulness, while offering is our response to His love. We give offering in proportion to the blessings that we receive and in proportion to the love that we have of Him. Some of us, we may say, well, I don't have enough money. I have financial problem. I cannot afford to tithe. But my friends, this is exactly the reason why we cannot afford to give tithe. Why we cannot afford not to give tithe? Because God promises us that if you bring all the tithes into the storehouse, that He will open the storehouse, the windows of heaven, that we won't have enough room to store it. So when you are having problem financially, that is the time that you have to obey God. Because that is the time that you can watch God work miracles in your life. Notice that in Leviticus 27:30 it says, all the tithe of the land is holy to the Lord. So it's God's holy money. The more that I am in financial trouble, the more that I have to obey God. Because this is where you will see God's living hand in spite of your financial trouble. It is very encouraging to read some of these people's testimony. Are some of these names familiar to you? Do you know William Colgate? Do you know that some of the toothpaste products are also Colgate? In the Philippines, when we say toothpaste, we say Colgate, right? But if you read his testimony, you'll be surprised that he started from a very poor family. And the first dollar that he earned, he decided, I will give tithe. And God bless him so much. How about John Rockefeller Sr.? He is the first billionaire. And if you compute his wealth, adjusted with inflation, he's actually richer than Bill Gates. And if you read the story of Rockefeller, you can also see how he was blessed. And he is a faithful tithe. Malachi chapter 3, verse 11 promises us that I will rebuke the devourer for your sake, so that he will not destroy the fruit of your ground. Or shall the vine fail to bear fruit for you in the field, says the Lord of hosts. But some of you may say, well, I know some faithful tithe giver, and still they have a problem financially. Well, let me share to you a true story. It is a story of John. John was a farmer. He lives in the area of Kansas, Nebraska, in the United States. And that year, the locusts came. And you know what locusts do, right? They would eat any green things in the land. And the locusts started doing their work. And John prayed to God. And John prayed, said, God, you told me to be faithful. You told me to be obedient to you. Please stop the locusts. So the locusts came to the fence of John. You know what happened? Yeah. The locusts ate everything that is in John's farm. All the leaves on the crop of John, all gone. And John was very perplexed. He was amazed. So he kneeled down and he talked to God. And then his atheistic neighbors came and asked John, John, I know that you are a faithful tithe giver. But look, the locusts ate our crops and the locusts ate your crops. How would you explain that? And John said, well, you know, several years ago, I dedicated my farm to God. So this farm is God's farm. The pasture is God's pasture. The locusts, they are God's locusts. If God wanted to feed his locusts with his pastures, it's not a problem at all. I still believe God's promises. In Philippians chapter 4, it tells us that, and my God shall supply all your needs according to his riches in glory by Christ Jesus. So John planted another crop in his farm, and miraculously, the second crop grew better than ever. The reason we return tithe is not so that we will be blessed super. That is not the reason why we are returning our tithe. We return our tithe because God is our creator and he is our sustainer. We give tithes to God and then we allow God to take care of the result. Proverbs chapter 3 tells us, honor the Lord with your possession and with the first fruits of your increase. So your barns will be filled with plenty and your vats will overflow with new wine. So our principle number 3 is giving with the right motives. Open our hearts to receive spiritual and material blessings from God. If you open your heart to God and give, not to get something, but because you love God, you are opening the doors for you to receive blessings. Self-centeredness is at the root of almost every sin. and giving is God's cure for selfishness. There is no other way. When Jesus talked to the Pharisees about this, he told them, "Who to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites? For you pay tithe of mint, anise, and cumin." Well, these words I didn't understand before, but I learned these are small spices. So they were very careful about giving tithes on very small things. But Jesus said, "And have neglected the weightier matters of the law, justice and mercy. These you ought to have done without leaving the others undone." So this is the New Testament endorsement of tithing. Jesus was telling the Pharisees, you should have done this, meaning the tithing, but should not forget about love, justice, and mercy. So what is God telling us? Fill your hearts with God's love, mercy, and love, and then give your tithe. Our financial principle number 4. Giving enables us to have this deep satisfaction in advancing His kingdom. The tithe is dedicated specifically for preaching of the gospel. You know, the Seventh-day Adventist Church is started as a movement, not as a church. And it is a worldwide movement to hasten the coming of Jesus. Are you part of that movement? When you give your tithe, what happens? Let's look at these verses on how we should use tithe. In the Old Testament, it says, "I have given the children of Levi all the tenth in Israel for an inheritance, for their service which they serve, even the service of the tabernacle of the congregation." So those who were serving in the tabernacle, they were living out of the tithe. How about in the New Testament? Do ye not know that they which minister about holy things live of the things of the temple? And they which wait at the altar are partakers with the altar. Even so, hath the Lord ordained that they which preach the gospel should live by the gospel. So when you give tithe in this church, what happens? You, the member, will give tithe, and what happens to your tithe? You probably will see me every Sabbath taking the red bag out and bringing it upstairs. Your treasury department is counting it very carefully. And then we give it to the Tokyo Central Church, our mother church. And what happens after that? Tokyo Central Church gives it to the Japan Union Conference. That is where our storehouse is. Do you know where JUC is? JUC is in Yokohama. If you've been to Kameno Koyama, JUC's office is in Yokohama. Before it was here, but many years ago it was transferred to Yokohama. So what happens when the money goes to the conference? More than 75% of it stays in the conference. And that is used to pay for the ministers, for the preaching of the gospel. A portion of that would go to the Union and Division ministries, and some of it would go to the World Church ministries. This portion here, we know what happens, because this is happening in our conferences. But how about this portion? This is how our global church expenditure looks like. Some are appropriated to institutions, some are to the divisions, some for the General Conference operating. Our General Conference has employees, secretaries, things like that. So we use that for their salaries. General Conference administered, and we have missionaries. So you can see that most portions of it actually comes back to the different local churches. How about your divine service offering? Today, you gave your divine service offering. Do you know where it will go? Did you listen when Ellie said, this week's offering will go to? Where is our divine offering will go today?
The sister.
It's disaster and famine relief. So our division is doing what we call as the combined offering plan. So you will notice that 50 to 60% goes to the local church. In our case, every first and fourth Sabbath is for church expense. What do we use church expense for? I mean, you are in Tokyo, you are in Harajuku, you are in one of the most expensive cities in the world. Do you know how much it costs to keep the lights on? That is what we use local church budget. 20 to 25% goes to General Conference for ministries, 20 to 25% goes to local field commission. So you will notice that some of the weeks, it would go to either Adventist Mission, SD College Scholarship, Media Evangelism, and SD Institution, Annual Sacrifices. This is where our Divine Service Dues often go. And you have your Treasury Department who is listing, doing accounting of all of this. And this is what we use. You don't have to wait for the particular week in order to give your offering. You say, I want to give to education, so you wait until the third Sabbath. No. You can actually specify here where you want your offering to go. I hope you are using this. So you specify that this is for my time, you specify this is for local church expense offering. This is how we know where it should go. How about your Sabbath school offering? You say, every week we're giving Sabbath school offering, where does it go? Sabbath school offering, we divide it into two. We retain locally half of it. And how do we use it? You have your lessons full quarterly, you have special programs, you have office supplies, when you are printing things. We use this expenses for that. And half of it goes to global mission. So it also goes to the world missions that we have. So you can see how we are using it in this side. We also give offering sometimes during afternoon programs. So you may ask, where does our afternoon program offering goes? It goes to, if it is for personal ministries, it goes to the budget of personal ministries. So every time we give something, we announce what that is for. And this is how we partner with God in His work in this earth. Now let's go to principle number 5. And principle number 5 is, there is no greater motivation to give than the cross. If you look at the cross, you will find out that heaven actually gave us the best gift ever. God gave Jesus to die on the cross for our sins. And knowing that very well, how can you hold back anything from God? Understanding the suffering, the gift that Christ gave to us, is more than enough reason for us not to withhold anything from God. Principle number 6. Sacrificing for God's cause teaches us deeper lessons of trust. When you return your tithe, even if you cannot pay your bills, you are teaching yourself a very basic principle in the Bible. It says, seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. When you don't have enough money to return your tithe or to pay your bills, you should pray. Pray to God and say, God, I don't know how to do this, but one thing I know, I have to be faithful to you. And it takes faith to say this prayer. But you know, friends, we should not live by sight alone. If you live by sight alone, you are actually preventing God from doing a miracle in your life. You are hindering Him, you are inhibiting Him from working miracles in your life. We should live by faith and in harmony with biblical principles. And then you would see the miracles of God in your life. The last principle is, the real issue is where our affections are. And maybe this is the question that we should ask all of us today. Where are your affections? Jesus was asking us, for what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? And here is the real issue. Would you exchange your salvation with material things? There is a parable in the Bible, and I know you are familiar with this. There is this man who had a lot of crops harvest in that year, and he said, so you have many good laid up for many years. Take your eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, fool, this night your souls are required of you. Then whose will those things that you provide will be? You know, there are two ways to live in this world. The first way is getting all you can out of this life. Make as much money as you can. Easy. But there is another way. Another way is God's way. Another way is us telling God, God, you created us, you sustain us, and you save us. I want to acknowledge that you are our creator, our sustainer. And I want to return my tithes to you, to acknowledge that you are my creator. And we can tell Jesus, Jesus, these are my affections. Take them. Thank you for saving me. And we tell Jesus, Jesus, I've been chasing around material things for so long. I want to stop. Please help me. And we can tell Jesus, Jesus, please save me. Save me from my selfishness. Save me from self-centeredness. Save me from my sin. And I'm sure Jesus will hear our prayer. And today, my prayer is that nothing should come between us and our Savior.
Amen.
That you would choose to leave the second option. Let us live for God and not for material.